Okay, this has had long enough time to dry, and I've got the belt loop and this little pouch that's going to hold the flint striker, and I think it's going to go on the back here. I think I'm going to make these two pieces black this time, so I'll be contrasting. So the other thing I need to mention is, since I want the stitching to show like this, I need to put the dye on it before I stitch anything together. So I think for right now all I'm going to do is dye these two pieces black, and I may end up working on this a little bit more. I need to think about it a little bit. So I'll just go ahead and stain these two right now and then take a breather. I'm putting on some gloves here so I don't get stain on my hands, because this stain or dye, it will definitely dye your skin too. I'm not going to dye the back side, I'm just dyeing it down far enough so if you happen to look in it a little bit, you'd see this edge and you'd still see black. This Phoebing's dye is very good. It penetrates really good. It's a solvent type dye. Okay, there's that piece. Now the belt loop. This, you could actually see the inside probably at some point in time, so I'm going to go ahead and dye the inside of this. So if you looked at it from the side, you'd still see black. I'm not going to dye this portion here because that's going to get glued down and then sewn on. Same with the back side here, that's going to get glued on. So I just want to make sure that around the edges where it might be exposed a little bit, it won't show. So this will get glued on and sewn, but this you can see down in here a ways, so I'm going to put some dye down there far enough so that I know that you'll always see black if you look into this edge that'll actually be between the loop and the back. Okay. I'll just let that dry. Before I go any farther, I want to tell you how thick this leather is, because I've had a few questions on the leather thickness. I can just use a set of dial calipers here to measure it, and it's about 85, 82, 86, so 85 thousandths, say, which is about between 5 and 6 ounces. You can find charts like this on the internet to show you leather thicknesses, and it's actually in it's like it's in 1/64 inch increments. So 8 ounces is 1/8 inch. Half of that, 4 ounces, is 1/16 of an inch. So anyway, this is about 5 to 6 ounce leather, and this belt loop's much thicker. It's about 9 to 10 ounce, I would say. I'm measuring right now 150 thousandths, 160 thousandths, somewhere in that range. So it's a 9 to 10 ounce leather. It really doesn't matter. Just choose the leather thickness that's appropriate for your project. These are all unique. Just make them how you think it's going to look best. So here's the little pouch for this flint striker that'll go in the back. And this is the belt loop. They've been dyed. Nothing else has been done. I want to burnish these edges because after they're sewn on, it's going to be hard to get at them, and I want them smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and dampen them, and then just use a burnishing stick here to smooth out the edges a little bit. It gives a nicer finish when you're done, a nicer appearance. And since this is already dyed with this black, it won't show any stain, so I don't have to be real even about the application of water. I just want to moisten it up a little bit on the edges here to soften the leather a little bit. And then all you have to do is just take a stick or something and rub it across the edges, and it tends to smooth the leather. In fact, let me show you. I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to get it so you can kind of see the roughness of the leather on the edge there. Once you start to burnish it, it makes it smoother. Gives it a nice appearance. Okay, that piece is pretty much done. Go ahead and do this one. In fact, maybe this one might be easier to see. You can kind of see the rough edge. And this one I've started to burnish a little bit. You can see where it's smoother here. I'll give you a look at this after I've burnished the edge somewhere. It looks rounded now and smooth. Of course, remember I went ahead and beveled the edges before I put any dye on it, so that helps give it a rounded edge. Otherwise it'd be kind of a more of a crisp, sharp edge here. Before I do anything else with this back panel, I was kind of thinking about it, what I wanted to do with it, and remember this is the original. This back panel is wider. This stitching around the edge, I want to put some tooling around the edge just as a pattern to add more interest. And so this part will show, but the stuff behind it will not. So here's the template of what's going to go over the top of it, and I've just moved it down slightly and just tracing it a line here with this scribe so I know how far down to put the tooling. This will not show, it'll all be covered up. This will show, and then I also want to hold the tooling in beyond this stitching. So I got a pair of dividers here, and I've just set it so that it's wide enough, I don't know if you can see that, wide enough so it'll make a mark on the inside of where that stitching is, so I know where to hold the tooling back. So I'm just gonna kind of draw a light line on this. In fact, maybe I should get it moist first. For tooling, you need to have your leather a little bit damp or moist. Now, since this part is not going to show, I'm not too worried about making a stain line here because it'll all be covered up. Okay, that's probably moist enough. Now I'll go ahead and kind of trace a line so I know how far to hold that back. Okay, if you can see that, there's just a light line there that I've scribed around there so I know how to hold it. And then I brought up this piece of granite. It really helps when you're tooling to have a nice, dense, hard, well, not so much hard, but a back that has some mass to it. So when you're tooling, it doesn't move; it stays solid. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to use two different tools here. They're called a mule's foot. I'm going to use a big one and a small one. Well, they're both pretty small, but one's smaller than the other. And I'm going to start at the corner here because I want that to look good. I'm just going to follow that line around. I think I'll put this here so I can see the line better. Show you what that looks like, and then I'll continue on. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'll do a couple of the smaller ones too, just so you can see what it's going to look like. And you can make this decoration look however you want. You could choose whatever tooling you wanted, but I just chose this because I thought it would look interesting. So that's what the pattern's going to look like. I will continue that around the edge here and finish up. Okay, there's the pattern. And remember, the stitching will be around the outer edge here to sew these two halves together once it's done. So that'll be behind the knife.